Just 4 hours. That's all it took for the truth to come crashing down on Weatherfield. One moment, Coronation Street fans were staring at the screen in pure dread, convinced that Carla Connor had drawn her final breath. The next, everything we thought we knew about her fate was turned completely upside down. If you've been following the most intense storyline the soap has delivered in years, you already know the name that has been on everyone's lips. But tonight we're going deeper than the headlines. We're talking about what really happened in those critical hours after it looked like Carla was gone for good, the chilling details that have only just fully emerged, and why this particular twist has left the entire Corrie community reeling. For weeks leading up to that fateful stretch of episodes, Carla Connor had been living a nightmare most of us can barely imagine. Played with raw intensity by Allison King, the underworld factory boss found herself at the mercy of Becky Swain, the woman who was supposed to be dead. Becky, Lisa Swain's first wife, had returned from the grave in the most calculated and ruthless way possible. What began as a shocking reunion quickly descended into something far darker. Becky wasn't content with simply reclaiming her place in Lisa and Betsy's lives. She saw Carla as the obstacle that had to be removed, and she set about doing exactly that with cold, methodical precision. Carla was taken, held captive, locked away in an airing cupboard inside Becky's flat while the rest of Weatherfield believed she was enjoying a well-earned break in Lanzarote. Becky even went as far as posting fake updates on Carla's social media, complete with carefully staged holiday photos, to keep the pretense alive. Meanwhile, the real Carla was bound, gagged, and slowly running out of time. The most terrifying detail of all? Becky knew exactly how fragile Carla's health was. After surviving sepsis that had damaged her transplanted kidney earlier in the year, and then undergoing a second transplant from her half-brother Rob Donovan, Carla depended on daily anti-rejection medication to stay alive. Becky took those pills. She held them in her hand, looked Carla in the eye, and made it clear she didn't need to lift a finger to end her rival's life. Carla's own body would do the job for her. That is the moment fans began using the word death. When Becky left Carla alone in the dark, without her medication, the clock started ticking. Every hour that passed without those pills increased the risk of her body rejecting the kidney. Viewers watched in horror as the situation grew more desperate. Carla tried to fight back. She managed a brief escape attempt after winding Becky up enough to smash a plate, using a shard to cut through her restraints and barging out of the cupboard with enough force to send her captor flying into a coffee table. For a split second, it looked like freedom was within reach. Then Becky recovered. She slammed Carla's head into the door, shoved her into the wall, and the factory boss was knocked unconscious once more. When Carla came round, the medication was gone, and Becky's message was crystal clear. Nature would take its course. From that point, the sense of dread only deepened. Becky moved Carla from the flat. Kit Green, the one copper who had refused to accept the holiday story, arrived at the empty property and found only the remnants of the captivity, unlocked chains hanging from the cupboard door, and an empty blister pack of pills. At the same time, Becky was seen staring into the boot of her car, filled with rope, cleaning products, and bloodied fabric. The implication was sickening. Had she already disposed of the body? Had Carla's fight finally ended somewhere cold and dark by the canal? Fans online went into overdrive. Social media filled with theories. Some were convinced we were about to lose one of the soap's most iconic characters. Others pointed to the upcoming Corriedale crossover and insisted Carla had to survive because she was clearly still involved in the story. The tension was almost unbearable. And then, just when it seemed the worst had happened, the truth began to surface. Kit Green never gave up. Following a lead on the last known location of Becky's car, he found himself in an abandoned area near the canal. The fear that Carla's body had been dumped in the water was very real. Instead, his attention was drawn to a shipping container. He broke the lock, and inside, tied and bound but still breathing, was Carla Connor. That is the moment the title of this video becomes real. What felt like the aftermath of her death was revealed, within those critical hours, to be something else entirely. Carla was alive, weak, battered, and desperately in need of medical attention, but alive. True to character, she refused to be taken straight to hospital. The second she was free, her only thought was Lisa and Betsy. She had seen a ferry stamp from Hull to Rotterdam in Becky's fake passport. She knew exactly where her captor was heading and what she intended to do. Carla climbed into Kit's car and ordered him to drive. No doctors. No delays. Just get to them before it was too late. What followed is now etched into Coronation Street history. Carla and Kit raced towards the port. Carla managed to get a call through to Lisa. That phone call, the distraction it caused, became the catalyst for the devastating multi-vehicle crash that formed the centerpiece of the Corrie crossover. In the chaos that followed, lives were changed forever. Billy Mayhew was lost. Other characters from both Weatherfield and the Dales found themselves fighting for survival. And in the middle of it all, Carla, still running on pure adrenaline after her ordeal, was determined to reach the people she loved. The full picture of those hours has only become clearer with time and subsequent episodes. We now know Carla sustained no long-term damage from the crash itself, according to the doctors who later examined her. We know she returned home to number 6 and immediately had to confront the painful truth that Lisa had slept with Becky during the period of her captivity. The emotional fallout from that revelation was almost as devastating as the physical ordeal she had just survived. Carla walked out. The relationship that had given both women a second chance at happiness was left hanging by a thread. Yet even that was not the end. Becky was eventually arrested. Lisa, in a moment of pure clarity and strength, snapped the handcuffs on her own former wife. Becky received a lengthy prison sentence. And against all odds, Carla and Lisa found their way back to each other. They married. They made history as the first same-sex couple to successfully tie the knot on Coronation Street. The woman who had been left for dead in a shipping container stood at the altar and said her vows. Looking back now, the entire storyline feels like a masterclass in soap tension. Allison King's performance throughout the captivity, the escape attempts, the rescue, and the emotional aftermath has been widely praised. Viewers have spoken of the genuine fear they felt watching Carla's situation deteriorate. The online reaction was intense. Some fans admitted they could barely watch certain scenes. Others praised the writing for never taking the easy way out. There were debates about whether the kidnapping plot went too far, whether Becky's villainy had become cartoonish, and whether Carla's survival felt earned. What united almost everyone was the relief when Kit finally opened that container door. The wider implications for the show are still unfolding. Carla's near-death experience has left lasting marks on her relationships. Her bond with Lisa has been tested in ways few soap couples ever face. Betsy has had to process the truth about her mother's return from the dead and the crimes that followed. Kit Green's determination throughout the investigation has elevated him as a character in his own right. And the Corrie crossover, born in part from the chaos surrounding Carla's rescue, proved that the two soaps could share a screen in spectacular and tragic fashion. Speculation continues about what comes next for Carla. Will the trauma of those days in captivity resurface in future storylines? How will her history of kidney transplants and the mental health battles she has fought in the past continue to shape her? Will the marriage to Lisa provide the stability she has long sought, or will new challenges emerge as they navigate life as a blended family? Fans are already discussing possible directions. Some hope for quieter, more domestic stories that allow the couple to breathe. Others sense that Coronation Street rarely lets its strongest characters rest for long. Given Carla's track record of surviving fires, collapses, attacks, and now a calculated attempt on her life by a woman who is supposed to be dead, it seems safe to say the writers still have plenty of material to work with. What cannot be denied is the power of that particular stretch of episodes. The image of Carla left alone in the dark without her medication. The empty cupboard. The bloodied items in the boot of the car. The shipping container by the canal. And then the moment the lock broke and she was still there, still fighting. Those scenes have become some of the most talked about in recent Corrie history for a reason. They took a character who has already endured more than most and pushed her to the absolute edge, only to pull her back at the last possible second. In the end, the story of what happened to Carla Connor just hours after it looked like the end is a reminder of why this soap continues to grip audiences after more than 60 years. It is not simply about twists for the sake of twists. It is about characters who feel real enough that their suffering hits hard and their survival feels like a genuine victory. Carla Connor refused to die in that cupboard or that container. She got out. She fought her way back to the people who matter. And she is still standing on the cobbles today, running the factory, married to the woman she loves, and as formidable as ever. That is the truth that finally emerged. Not a body in the canal, not a quiet fade to black, but a battered, furious, determined woman who looked death in the face and refused to blink. For hours after the moment everything seemed lost, we learned she was still here. And for Coronation Street fans, that knowledge still carries a powerful emotional charge. If you have been following every twist of a story, I would love to hear your thoughts. Did the rescue land the way you hoped? How do you feel about the way Carla and Lisa's relationship has developed since? Drop your comments below. Let us know what you think the future holds for the Connor Swain family, and if you want more deep dives into the latest Coronation Street developments, make sure you like this video and subscribe. There is always more drama on the way from Weatherfield, and we will be here to break it all down for you.